How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast. Game week 1 is out the way. We got 3 points in the bag, a 2-1 win over Nottingham Forest. I hope everyone is all good and all well and everyone enjoyed football returning this weekend and the big 3 points, because to start the season, it is a big 3 points. We'll get into the performance because there's quite a bit to debate about the pros, cons, positives, negatives, and so on. And as usual, it's Jordan, Lee, and James in the building. Hit the like button, people. Let's get up to 1,000. And lads, I think we should just get straight into it because we've got a little bit to cover. Football is back. Premier League returns. Arsenal get the first win out of the way at the Emirates against Nottingham Forest. It probably wasn't the way we all expected the game to go. But we all expected the W at the end, and that's what we got. So I want to hear whether you are focused more on the result at this stage of the season or the performances, and if it potentially worried you or not. James Lee, we've spoken, and I've heard your points of view. So I'm going to start with Jordan today. Jordan, 2-1 Nottingham Forest, Saka goal, Eddie Nketiah gets a goal. What do you make of it?
40 more goals to go.
I see that. I see a couple of people tweeting that. You want to up the bet, or is 20 times good enough?
No. I'm all right. I'm pushing it at 15, so let's leave it at 15. Listen, the job done in terms of first win of the season. That's the most important thing. Get the 3 points, and we did that. The starting 11 was interesting. When I saw that come through, I thought, okay. This is I wasn't mad at it, but I didn't love it either. But we got the win, so seeing Partey at right back was a mad one. But I must say, my preferred centre back partnership actually this season, I think I said a couple of weeks back, was actually Saliba and White. So seeing that was interesting, and that's not because Gabriel didn't have a good year last year or was not a good defender. I just think White is better centre back than he is at right back.
What do you? Yeah. On that point, because you raise a good point, and it's one of the talking points from the game. But that was a big change. Partey being right back, Gabriel not starting the game for the first time since August 2021. I think it's 73 appearances straight, and he's only second to Paul Merson in terms of concurrent appearances for Arsenal Football Club. So you can see how important Gabriel's been to Mikel Arteta. What did you make of this change?
Turkish, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what I make of it. It's what I wanted, but I don't know why Arteta did it. There was no injury concern. There was no fallout as far as I'm aware of. So it was really, really weird. With the Partey positioning as well, you can only think that maybe he was experimenting and just thought at this early point in the season at home to Forest, that's the time to try something. I genuinely have no ideas. I'd love to hear you guys if you have a theory on this. But I think in terms of the game itself, good first hour, dominant, in control completely. Look, I'm not going to lose my head because it's the first game of the season, but we can't give cheap goals away like that throughout the season at home. I think we all said it on the last pod. Our home record last year was very good, but we still conceded way too many cheap goals. That goal, the goal itself, that can't go in. I'm sorry, if you're going for the Premier League title, that goal can't be scored. It just can't be scored. A guy can't run 70 yards up the pitch of the Emirates, cut back, and then they score. That just can't happen. So for me, I was really angry about that. My target for the season, 19 clean sheets, is still there. But those are the sorts of goals. I saw a clip someone sent me of Robbie talking about the fact that it was only the first game of the season. Calm down, relax. It's the first game of the season, yes. But I think it was concerning that City had a harder game away from home and kept a clean sheet, whereas we had the easier game and conceded a cheap home goal. And I think that it's the first game of the season, yes. But I think that there's something to be worked on there, because if that happens during the middle part of the season, for example, that game could end 2-2. And you've gone from being dominant and killing a team at home to now dropping 2 points. So I'm not going to lose my head completely over the goal conceded. But I think there's lessons to be learned there that if you can't score the third, don't concede. Take a 2-0.
How important is that? Because I'm more with you. I know it's the first game of the season. Robbie's right there, but how important is it to send the message in not only the first game, but your start to the season? Because everyone's expecting now Arsenal to be up there. We've just come off our best season in a while, where we led the way for however many days that we keep being reminded about by opposition fans. So I think it was very important to send a message. Now, don't get me wrong. I've just read recently that we've won 4 of our last 5 opening day fixtures, and prior to that, we had won 2 of 9. So we've made improvements in that sense, and you can see that in the transfer window because we've approached the transfer window proactively. We've added into areas where we finally need, whereas previously to the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't really been doing that. And the proof's in the pudding. Only winning 2 of 9. And then 4 or 5, you can see an improvement there. So on one hand, there's an improvement, and 3 points is very important compared to what we used to go into the seasons like. But I just wanted to send a message. To be honest, I didn't even think that Man City had the harder fixture. I just thought, get a clean sheet, get a few goals, and let the league know that we are back this season and we are going for it. And as much as you can't take everything from that first game, we didn't really send that message.
Just to respond before the boys come in, I think I don't agree that I think a message in terms of a clean sheet was needed. I think we saw last year you can start the season on fire, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? So I think the 3 points was the message. The clean sheet and performance, I'm less. I think that's less about a message. I think it was more just about winning the game and getting the 3 points. However, I think that a clean sheet in terms of our own form, I think it would have been important. So I was a bit disappointed that they got that goal, but I don't think a 2-0 would have made teams think, oh wow, Arsenal are on this thing versus the 2-1. I just think internally, I think for us, it's important that we are defensively, better than we were, and also Saka doing Saka things.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Lee, you was at the game. I believe you was the only one at the game here. Yeah. How was it? I mean, I do want to touch on the whole ticket issue later on in the show, but we've started on the performance on the 90 minutes, so we might as well stick there. What do you make of it? Important to send a message or not? Gabriel not starting? I mean, yeah.
Well, listen, I think at the end of it, Arteta got lucky. I think he was very, very fortunate. I think like the team that he picked, I said at the beginning, I weren't happy with it. I weren't happy with the Partey one at right back. I think at the end of the day, defensively, it was all over the shop for the whole game. First and foremost, this was a team that come with no ambition to score. They played all low box and all that. 91% in the first 15 minutes we had, and they get the first chance 1-on-1. And they should have scored. Actually, Ramsdale done quite well. Watched it again yesterday. He come out and done very, very well. There's all this stuff, all this talk. I've heard it over the last year. It's very, very important to have a left-sided defender. Very, very important. We've got to get one in. All right? Partey, right-footed. Ben White, right-footed. Saliba, right-footed. Timber, right-footed. The whole back four,
that is a twist.
The whole back four, not one left-sided player in there, right? Why? Because I've had a big beef with it with Robbie, big argument about it. He had to get in Kai Havertz in this game. The only way he could get him in was either to play him up top or do what he did. And that was to change the midfield around to get him in, not having a go at Kai Havertz. I am saying this is his man. He's got to try and get him in, and I think it's going to cause problems at this moment in time. In fact, thinking about it, Tomiyasu come on as well, is he 2-footed, or can we actually say he's predominantly right-footed as well?
He's predominantly right, but he's good with his left.
Predominantly right. So this obsession of left-sided defenders, which we've been going for, doesn't matter in the first game of the season. I can't believe Gabriel was left out of the side. I know for me, I guarantee you he won't be against Crystal Palace. I honestly think that he's looked at it, he's looked at the game, and he got it right in a way that he knew that Nottingham Forest were going to show no ambition. It meant that we was going to have a lot of play. Listen, it's a little bit like the ticket thing. If it's not broken, don't, fix it. I think at the end of the day, we should have just kept the same back four. Thomas Partey could have dominated from midfield. Who knows? At the end of the day, I look at that performance and I think it was very, very big. It weren't a very, very impressive performance, but I've seen other teams over the weekend play very, very well and not win games of football. So at the end of it, what's the most important thing? Performance or results? It's always a result, you know. But looking at it, the bigger picture, it's just one game. I was always banging on last season. You know, if we don't sort out our defensive side at home, it will come back and bite us. It did come back and bite us at the end, you know what I mean, with defeats and draws against teams that we should have beaten. So for me, I think lessons have got to be learned. My biggest worry at this moment in time is Mikel Arteta, that he's not experienced enough to manage a big squad at the moment. There are players in there that are there. And my biggest beef, and I said this the other day as well, you know, we was in the pub talking about, if Trossard was a 70, 80 million pound player, would he be doing what he's doing to him? You know what I mean? I think he deserves to play. I thought he done very, very well when he came on. But, you know, Eddie gets the nod. And the other thing is, again, I'm going to say this now. I've seen it. It was in the pub, people criticising Eddie. Oh, yeah, he scored, but he done nothing else. Right? Well, if he scores and does nothing else for 38 games, he gets 38 goals, right? Everybody's going to turn around and go, 38 goals, cool, that's £100 million player. Football is a funny game. It's funny, you know. I didn't think Eddie play well. I don't think we play that fluent stuff with Eddie. But I'll tell you what, I thought he took his goal really well. You know, it was a good finish. So, you know, and I do think that, you know, Kai Havertz, I thought done okay, but I see him getting lots of pelters online and things like that. I felt that he slowed the play down a little bit, but he was very, very unlucky with a couple of crosses and a couple of passes that didn't go his way. I didn't think it was an inspiring performance, boys. I'll be honest. I didn't. I thought Forest will look at themselves. I think their manager, Cooper, will look at himself and kick himself that he didn't go 10, 15 minutes earlier than what he did, because I think if they did, they probably would have gone on and got something out of the game. The other thing is that from me, Mikel reacted far too late to their substitutions. You know, Partey was getting got skinned on that right hand side, and I'm going to say this now. This is where Martinelli should get a lot more praise. If Martinelli's in that on that right hand side, that don't go to a 50, 60, 70 yard run. He comes back and stops it. Saka couldn't get back there. You know, Martinelli, by the way, if there was a plus and a real big plus of the game, I thought he was outstanding for 70 minutes until he came off. The work rate of that kid is unbelievable. But the positives are we didn't play well and we won the game. And I thought Declan Rice looked very, very good in what he'd done. The front three done the business as far as I'm concerned. Eddie scored and the two white players, you know, Saka's goal, unbelievable, and the lovely little bit of skill from Martinelli. But I look at that defensive side of it and all that, and I think Mikel, again, I've always said it, very, very lucky manager, and he got away with it again.
James, Lee's kind of delved into a lot there. Jordan did the same, so it's up to you where you start. But I'm
on a different page to everyone. Let me ask the panel this: is how good a performance is dependent purely on how many chances you have?
I think performance. I think it differs for the opposition. I think at home against Nottingham Forest, I think part of a good performance is being able to create enough chances to win the game comfortably. Yeah.
So I think in that metric, however you pure chance creation, shots, whatever. Yeah, I thought Arsenal were a bit underwhelming. I don't think we were that pretty, really. I didn't feel like we could just slice them open whenever we wanted, and we saw a lot of that last year. Other than that, I'm sorry, everyone. I disagree. I thought Arsenal were good. Not great. Nothing special. I thought we were good. I thought off the ball, you said we were a mess defensively, Lee. I disagree. I think every time it looked like we lost the ball in the middle and they had the opportunity to counter and come our way, the way Timber, Rice, Havertz included, Partey, Ødegaard, Martinelli smothered them to win that ball back. They had two chances in that game. Brendan Johnson at 0-0. That was poor. That was a poor bit of defending. but it was kind of like a header, and Saliba was caught out of position because he won the header before. That wasn't great, but that's why you have a goalkeeper to do their job, and Ramsdale did his job, made it difficult. And the goal, I was disappointed with the goal as well because I didn't like how lackluster we were in the second half in particular. I thought we were just kind of cruising, and I felt we needed to step it up, get that third. We nearly did with Rice on a couple of occasions, and there were a couple of openings we should have done better with. But that's kind of the extent of my criticisms. Off the ball, I thought we were pressing really well in the first half. Thought the intensity was great. I thought some of the possession in tight areas, some of the combinations, the football was superb. And like I just mentioned, some of those chances, we forget Martinelli, who I agree was outstanding. But if he rolls it across the floor to Nketiah, that's another goal. He goes to the outside of the ball quite high, So there were moments, there were openings. It didn't always convert to a shot or forcing that turn into a big save. But I thought Arsenal were genuinely pretty good, fine. I mean, at minimum, I'll give them a 6 out of 10. I don't think that's reflective of what everyone else thinks on the podcast, but I genuinely thought we were okay. Forest did nothing. They genuinely, okay, not nothing because they scored a goal, but very, very, very little. And I think last year when we were worrying about our defense, I think it's because we kept getting caught in transition. I remember we beat Everton 4-0. I always go back to this example, but they had like 3 chances on the counter before we scored. And I didn't feel like this was that kind of game. And I refer to, and I'm not saying Turkish, you hold the same opinion as me, but I refer to you on the watch along, even when they got one back, you were saying, yeah, okay, but I'm not worried. And I think that was reflective of the fact that the rest of the game, nothing had happened and we had no reason to worry. So I didn't mind the defensive performance. I didn't mind the performance in general. I thought the new shape, Arteta was trying to get as many technicians in the team as possible. He basically, I was about to say play with the back 3. He played with the back 1 or 2 because Timber would invert, White would overlap. Saliba was the only one who basically actually had a fixed position to stay quite defensive and hold that line. Everyone else was here, there, and everywhere. The experiment, I could see what he was trying. I think it still needs a few more weeks in the oven. I'm not sure I want to see it too much, but it was okay. So I just take a lot of positives, and I just look back at the Centurions and their opening 3 games from last season, from that 17-18 season. We're no Centurions, but they are the team that got the most points in a Premier League season ever. They opened with a 2-0 win at Brighton. Okay, decent win. They then drew 1-1 at home to Everton, and then it took a 97th minute winner from Raheem Sterling to win away at Bournemouth. That's a really nice opening 3 games, and they only took 7 points out of 9 and nearly dropped 4 points in the opening 3 games. So I'm not that worried about the fact that we don't look fully at our best. If anything, we maybe peaked too early last year. Actually, last year, our opening 3 games, we conceded 2 goals to Leicester in the opening home game. And then we won 2-1 against Fulham with a last-minute goal and 2-1 against Villa. So we weren't perfect at home in the opening 5 last year either. So I'm not saying let's calm down because I don't think anyone here is losing it. But I just think it's fine. I think there are plenty of positives to take and improvements to make too.
Sorry, before you come in, Turkish, can I just ask, is the difference, James, not though that there's expectation this year? Last season, those games, you're right, we wasn't overly convincing, but the target was top 4. So a slowish start or a bit of a tentative start is okay if the target is 4th. When you're trying to win the league and compete against the monster, every single detail, and like I said, the first games, I'm not going to lose my head, but every single detail, needs to be covered. Is that not the difference?
I want to say something this is a little controversial. I don't think City were any better than us in that first game. Genuinely. I thought they scored the early goal and that settled them. Then I saw Burnley cutting through them. I saw them looking really sloppy in possession. I think Burnley, if they a little bit of a better touch when they're through on goal, a little bit, and they could have got one back. Haaland's unbelievable. They showed their quality. They got the second, and then they got the third. But I thought they were fine. I thought we were fine.
I agree, but the fact that they can go away to a team, albeit a promoted team, and I agree, not play particularly great, and still have a 3-0 in their back pocket, that I wouldn't say it's concerning, but that's something that I think should be noted.
The Haaland effect. I don't think many other strikers score those goals.
True.
He's so special. And look, that's what we're up against, okay? And I get it. And I'm not saying we're at their level. I'm not saying everything's great and nothing's. that performance left quite a bit to be desired too. But I just think there were plenty of positives. There were at times some of the football we were playing, the way we were pressing, I thought these guys look really intense and switched on, and I was just happy to see that as well.
This isn't me doubling down on the negatives of it, because I don't think it's right to do that, especially in game week 1. But James, you did make a comparison to City and the Centurions. Yeah, I think it's probably the wrong comparison. I think we're better off using Liverpool as the comparison, because Liverpool are the only one to break this Man City dominance in the last however many years. And I think off the top of my head, when Liverpool started that season and the way they won it, they won it pretty much steamrolling their way through. Off the top of my head, there was a game there where it was away to Bournemouth or away to Southampton, where they were 2-0 up, conceded with like 15 to go. And aside from that result, they beat us 3-1. They beat Chelsea away 2-1. It was an opening day win against Norwich 4-1. Now, I'm not saying that,
It's a good comparison, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying you compare it to Liverpool, we've got no chance because it's game week 1. Of course, we've got a chance, but I think when you look at the predictions as well, 4-0, Jordan 4-1, Lee 3-0. And then James went for a 3-1, but he added a nervy 3-1. I think that goes a long way in explaining the reaction, the individual reactions of us all. 3 of us thought comfortable victory. It's Nottingham Forest, get the job done, 3-4 goals. 1 of us thought a few goals in it, but it'll be a nervy affair.
That's a great point. I think maybe expectation as well, because you're right. I did add that context of 3-1, but I think it'll be one of those awkward ones. That's almost nearly exactly what it was. Yeah. Damn, I'd have loved that 3 points.
Don't be trying to claim any more points, James.
I don't know how you guys felt, but I thought, I've got a great chance of getting this 3-0 here.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-0 I've gone too low. I thought, I'm thinking 4-0.
Didn't you see the watch along knee? I done a knee slide when our knee scored.
Actually,
but doesn't that show that you were quite encouraged by the performance at one point?
I wasn't encouraged. I actually said at half time, I don't think we've done that. We haven't played that well, and I was looking forward to maybe an improvement in the second half. It didn't happen. Maybe because Timber went down early in the second half as well. I think that maybe had something to do with it. I just felt it was like, if I'll be really honest, and I'm not being critical when I say it, I think it was like, you get over on a game for a game, and the manager goes, right, I'm playing you here, playing it. It didn't seem like there was no cohesion to the performance and whatever. We stick party in midfield at daylight and looking around and all that. Like, I think when you listen, and I mean this sincerely, if we play Spurs, you ain't going to see Partey at right back. When we play Man United in a couple of weeks, and we're not going to see Partey right back. He was looking at it, the way that they played, and to see something, to try something different. I get that. I'm not criticising that and all that, but sometimes I feel you can be a little bit too clever. I feel it was not a poor performance because we won. The opposition just didn't give us. They had no ambition from the word go. I know we're going to have to get teams like that. But what I'm saying is, if a team comes with a little bit more go and a little bit more class to it, and I'm not having a go at Forest here, because I think when they did, they caused us all sorts of problems in that last 20 minutes, and we had to change. You know what I mean? Like if Arteta did not get that defensive situation sorted, they would have beaten us. They would have gone.
I did not see it that way. I really didn't.
I'm very fortunate.
They scored and then nothing else.
He stopped it. He went back.
Happened before that either. They scored on the counter. We had a corner, and they went up the other end. And it's poor defending. Don't get me wrong.
White was causing him all sorts of problems in the first half. He was going past him all the time. You know what I mean? Ben White was having to come over and stretch. Honestly, look, maybe because you see it differently, like on the TV. I don't know. Like, I'm not having it, but I am telling you that Arteta was not happy. I'm fortunate I don't sit that far away from him. He weren't happy with what was going on because it didn't go to the way he thought it was going to go to plan. If I'll be honest, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and once I think they had a little bit of a warning before that when he burst past Partey, and then but they scored. As soon as they scored, honestly, James, as soon as they scored that goal, he went, right, I'll change it. Get get so and so, get it changed. You know what I mean? And I thought from that point of view, yeah, then I thought we was comfortable again. Like I'm telling you, if it had kept it the same, we would they would have scored again. Like and it did make it nervous. But the one thing I will say, and I'm positive, and I really want to get to a positive, is that once it went 2-1. Even though it went for 5-6, I weren't like panicking, like blow the whistle and all that. I felt that we see that game out well after that. Thomas Partey went back into the midfield with Rice, and we shut up shop. Maybe could have done that earlier and maybe got a 3-0 or a 4-0 win. But look, listen, it is about getting results, and it's about getting the performances come second. I think if you look at last season and we went to Crystal Palace at the first game of the season, got the 2 goals, and then defended very, very well. And it was a very, very good away performance that takes you. That's what we've got to do again on Monday now, isn't it? Like, you know, so
a whole week away.
A whole week away. I'd be very, very shocked if it isn't Gabriel, White, Saliba, and who's ever comes in at left back now. I'm not sure if Tim is going to be fit, but I do think that at the end of the day, I don't know how Gabriel's feeling about that. I really don't like, you know. I just think was he the easiest one to drop out? But I will say, out of all of those defenders, the one that I don't think is comfortable, I have criticised him for this, is him. He's not as comfortable on the ball as all those other defenders. So maybe that, you know, when Jordan was saying why he was left out, I think that it was nothing to do with his defending. I think it's just that the others are more comfortable on the ball than him.
Let me bring one of the positives that I think I need to talk about. Lee mentioned it earlier, and that's Eddie Nketiah. And in my fan cam, I mentioned that I believe that Eddie starting up top is part of the reason why we didn't create as many chances as I would have hoped. I'd expected with a Trossard up top, we would have created more chances. But if Eddie does start, take your chances. I mentioned in the community show that Havertz miss, how important that can be in certain games in the league, how important the first goal is. And, you know, missing that could lead to you missing out on 3 points, missing out on, you know, any points. So Eddie got his one chance in that first half and he took it. And as much as I have doubts about Eddie, and everyone knows that, he's part of the team again this season. He's got the contract, he's got the number, and he's got the confidence. He put out a post on Instagram saying, start as you mean to go on. Mikel Arteta mentioned, I think it's in the post-match interview, where you get some players that moan and feel sorry for themselves. You get some players that tell you why they should be playing and are on your heels about it. So everything right now is lined up for Eddie to have a big season. And I think it needs to be, you know, big in a way. I'm not asking for 15, 20 goals like Jordan maybe, but I'm asking for when you are relied upon, especially against Nottingham Forest, when you get a chance, put it in the back of the net. And that's exactly what he done. I do want to touch Saka and Martinelli too, because their moments of magic, you know, won us the game. But Eddie, you know, I didn't say it in the fan cam. He took his chance. And in my opinion, it was very important, because if Forest a few minutes before that take the lead, that could be a very different game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-1 if Forest take the lead, the way Forest was set up. They missed their chance. We take our chance and we get over the line with it. Like Lee said, I wasn't too worried come the end of it, even though Forest got a goal back. I think we saw the game out pretty well. But as well as Eddie, go on, James.
I think you're right on Eddie. I think two things can be true, and I think people sort of, I don't know why they get so defensive. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying we maybe aren't as fluid as an attacking outlet with Eddie, but maybe we need fewer chances to score with Eddie. Like, maybe that's true too. It's funny because I want to say it's right before everyone gets on to me, but Eddie's shot, you know, it took a deflection away from Turner. I think maybe Turner's saving it. And then I thought there was maybe a cutback. So in the moment, I wasn't sure if he made the right decision. But like, who cares? Who cares? He scored. Because when he got near goal, and we don't have enough players who do this, I think when he did see the goal, he thinks, hit one. And there was another moment where, again, I don't think the angle was on, but he just went to smack it. And I can't remember if it was a block or whatever. I remember thinking that twice in the game. But I do like that. Like, he's just, oh, no, sorry. I remember what it was. Turkish, it was that through ball, and he was offside. He was miles offside.
Yeah.
But because his mindset was, put me into goal, put me through to goal. And actually, I think a Saka thinks, like, let me hold the line, roll me in, and hopefully there's a cutback. So he's just got a different mentality. He wants to get to goal that bit quicker. But that's fine. Maybe we don't have enough of that. And like you said, he scored and he took his chance. And that's actually exactly the kind of goal we want him to score. Be in the penalty area, because it might get a little bit messy. It might need a little bit of a moment of magic. Martinelli provided that, but he was there just to lash it home, hit the target, and put it in the back of the net. So I'm really happy for Eddie. And he must have, and I think we're understanding more and more why Arteta likes him. He must have the most incredible mentality and like mental strength and attitude towards, not being happy being on the bench. He was apparently very disappointed he didn't start the Community Shield, but he apparently trained superbly and said to Arteta, you've got to get me in this team, and I'm going to show that on the training pitch. And I think when you hear that kind of thing, you sort of think to like under 15s football, train well, you get in the team, and you kind of think, professional football surely doesn't work like that to a degree, because you look at what they're doing in the 90 and the friendlies and all that. But there will be an element of that. They will be looking at how they're training, how sharp they're looking, how switched on. And if it is that, as Arteta said, that's got him in the 11, then credit to him, because a lot of people might sulk. How easily could he just say, I want to move? You know what? I'll look for another club. There's another Premier League. I want the minutes. But he keeps fighting, and I've got to give him huge credit for that.
You can't criticise his attitude. You can't. I'll be really honest. I think it's a stat. Work rate. I think his stat is like his last 16 home games when he started, he scored 14 goals. I think there's a stat going about that, which is incredible. But I actually see him in America. We know when we played the All Stars, he came off at half time, and they were doing a workout at half time, doing some training. I looked at it. Saka was going through the motions, and he was really, really putting it in. And I said, look at him. He's really, like they were running to the 18-yard box, coming back and then sprinting to the halfway line. Saka was putting it in, but not going full pelt. He was putting it in the whole bit, like, you know what I mean? And if you're a manager, like I was impressed by it by watching. I think, he really wants it. But if you're his manager, and the manager looking at it, and if he's doing that in training, look at him. He's really putting it in. He really wants it and everything like that. I think at the end of the day, we all know Eddie's not the greatest striker, but I think he's going to walk away from Arsenal whenever he does. And I admire him for this. He's going to turn around and say, do you know what? I might not have done it, but I give it every inch of my ability. I'll give it my best shot. And at the end of the day, you can't argue with that, and I do feel that there is a sort of campaign against him. But do you know what? In the stadium, if he does something, he does a foul or he makes a run or he has a shot, the fans get right behind him. There is that, the Eddie thing, So I just think he's always going to be criticised for some reason. I don't know why, but at the end of it, Turkish pulls it. Exactly right. Their chance, they miss our first chance we score. And that first goal is a massive, massive thing to win a game of football.
Listen, 15 goals, Eddie's going to prove all you guys wrong, yeah? Eddie's going to be the guy. And it makes me think of Theo Walcott. I think he'll have a Theo Walcott type career. He's never going to be a legend. He's going to have some ups and downs. The same way we chant Theo by his first name, we chant Eddie by his first name. It's a comparison there. Oh, yeah. But I just think he's going to be one of those players that is never going to be a brilliant, top striker. But I think he'll be a part of some trophy lifting times for Arsenal. It could be a League Cup, could be an FA Cup, hopefully a Premier or Champions League. But I just think it's about context. Eddie's not going to be Van Persie or Aubameyang or Thierry Henry. That's not going to happen. He won't lead you to a Premier League title. But that doesn't mean that he can't contribute to a Premier League title. And I think that year on year, he is getting better and better. He will miss some chances. I'm at peace with that. He's not that clinical world-class striker. He will miss some sitters. Cool. So did Theo Walcott. He still got over 100 goals for Arsenal. So I think that's kind of where I am with Eddie Nketiah. He's not going to be the main man for Arsenal, but I think he's good enough to be in the squad and help us contribute to hopefully getting some success. That's how I see it.
I do also want to say, though, and I echo and agree with sort of all the lovely things we've said, but I think he's just scored, and so we're kind of feeling the love, and that's great. there is still elements of his game that are lacking, and there is a certain level we need to hit.
Yep.
And it wasn't that long ago, and I'm talking preseason, where he looked very underwhelming in preseason, actually. And I'm talking across most of those games, like Barcelona, he had a cameo, but Man United start. So I just want, the reason I want to say that it's not to rain on his parade and the good moment. It's because I don't want us I don't want us in a few weeks' time when it maybe doesn't go quite right.
Pile in.
Well, it's just
I don't think
the
it's
middle with
piling.
all of it.
I think James is right, because I was going to bring it full circle if someone didn't, and everyone probably expected me to do it. So I'm glad actually James done it. But as much as we like that, it seems like his mentality is on point. As much as we like that, he's focused and he's willing to sit on the bench and bide his time. He needs to take his chance. He didn't, in my opinion, last year. Some people think he did, but I think 4 and 5 when Jesus was injured, and then 0 and 4 leading to Trossard taking your position and then not starting another one, kind of leads me to say he didn't take his chance like he should have. This year he's got a chance.
But Turkish, for a squad player, that record isn't that bad. For a squad player, that record isn't actually that bad.
When you couple
That's
up,
what it is.
when you couple up the 0 and 4 with what I mentioned earlier, that when he plays, we don't create as many chances. Hence the Everton 1-0, hence the Brentford 1-1. That's where the 0 and 4 came during these fixtures. That's when it becomes a problem. Because 4 and 9 doesn't sound too bad. 4 and 5 is great. 0 and 4 isn't, especially when you're the team top of the league, known to create a lot of chances, have a youthful exuberance to you. You'd expect him to.
He's limited. He's limited. I think we all agree that he's limited, and I think we all agree that he's not the guy that's going to fire you to a Premier League title, and that's our ambition. I'm not gassing him up because he scored a goal. I'm just saying, I think we have to be critical when it's fair, and we have to praise him when he does well, which is what we're doing.
I agree.
Exactly what you say there, Jordan, is a great point. He's not gonna win us the title, right? From Lee, he could do as a squad player though. There's a difference, and that's what he is. You know what I mean? Like him coming in for 5, 6, 7 games, scoring the goals, and then Jesus coming back and going. That is what he is. And if you need someone like that. You know what I mean? He's not good enough to lead the line week in, week out for Arsenal. But I'll tell you what, he is a good squad player to have, because you know what, he does nick goals. He got criticised a game against Monaco. Who scored? You know what I mean? He does nick goals. So if he can do it while Jesus is out, and then if he scores another 3 goals in the next couple of weeks, I'll be pleased. But I'll be more delighted when Jesus is back on in the side, and that's just how it is. But
the thing I like about him, Lee, is that if he ever heard or saw what we're kind of all saying here, or if other people said the same thing, I think his mentality would be, I can lead the line. Yeah, I can lead us to a title. And I don't believe that, but I love that. I think he believes that.
You've got to have a special mentality to be a squad player as well. Let me get you know what I mean? Like, yes, he wasn't happy that he came off. He didn't play against the Community. Did he make a difference when he came on? Yes, he did make a difference when he came on.
He did.
And so you can't have all. Look at Salah yesterday. Do you think that's a good look? Gets taken off after whatever. That looks at him thinking, that ain't very good and all that. You don't see Eddie doing that. You don't see Arsenal players doing that at the moment, because there's a different mentality, and you've got to have that. Because I tell you what, Eddie would pull him up on that, whether it's a thing like he did and thing like, go, look, count yourself lucky you started, mate.
I don't know how Salah would react to that.
Well,
Eddie telling him in the cafeteria.
Yeah,
what are you moaning for?
You don't see Martin. I tell you what, I thought Martinelli was outstanding the other day, but he didn't come off moaning, did he? He comes off giving it a high five and everything like that. It shows you a different mentality. You've got to have a good mentality.
And I think the whole, firing us to the title thing is true, but that's not to say he can't be part of. Look, last year, if we won the league title, that moment against Man United goes down in history. It's replayed time and time again, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. Same with Reece Nelson's winner against Bournemouth. So even though, you can't fire us to the title as our leading striker, what you can do is play your part.
Exactly that.
And that's what I want this season from him. 10 to 15 goals in the Premier League off the bench. would
13.
be
We can't have it.
15, please.
10 to
15.
Can't have
14.
it getting
10
15.
to 14.
15, please. Come on, Eddie.
Let's move on.
Nice 10 will be all right. Like, you know what I mean?
What kind of Arsenal fan are you? Bloody hell.
That'll be enough.
Think of the team. Think of the team. Think of our ambitions. 15 goals. That's what we need.
Team first, Jordan second. That's how we look at it. I'll give him £20 if we win the league for sure. But I want to move on to Martinelli and Saka now. Reason being because they both pulled out moments of magic. Martinelli with his assist for Eddie, Saka with his second goal. Something I want to see a lot more of from Saka. I think he's got that in his locker. We saw it against Ukraine for England. We saw it for Arsenal. A couple to against Man United last year. We saw it again now against Nottingham Forest. Moments of magic from these two. And I think it's so important that when you look at Man City on Friday night, Haaland, within 3-4 minutes, when he gets on the end of that, you see 6 Burnley defenders in the 6-yard box, and Haaland gets on the end of it to put it in the bottom corner. Then he scores another one, and you think, well, this guy's picked off where he left off last season. Martinelli and Saka did that same thing against Nottingham Forest, and I think that is very important because as much as we have a debate about do we need another striker because Jesus is out, can Eddie lead the line? Saka, Martinelli, they've got pressure on their young shoulders. They've had it for a long time, but this is the first season they're going in with the fans expecting not only us to challenge and potentially win a Premier League title, but for them to get between 15, 20 goals now. So, Jordan, haven't heard from you in a little while. Saka, Martinelli picked up where they left off.
For sure. I didn't think Saka was brilliant the whole game, but when you score a goal like that, you're kind of forgiven. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he was as good as Martinelli. Martinelli was much more constant thorn in the Forest side, I thought, than Saka was. But the goal's brilliant. Look, my target for those two guys is 15 goals minimum. I mean, Eddie's is 15 goals maximum. I'll take that. For those guys, that's the minimum. I expect 15 goals at least from those guys. If those guys are going to be the guys that fans tell me are the best in the world, rare, they need to be getting 20 goals a season because that's what Salah gets. That's what Mane was getting. That's what, Mahrez over the course of a season, the squad, he was touching near those 15 goals. That's what the best, Vinicius Jr., these guys are getting 20, 25 goals a season. And I think those guys can get that. So for them to start the season in this vein, with an assist and a goal is a great start. Those two need to be the two players that every single time we play a team, the opposition are thinking, oh, bloody hell. Some teams have a bad boy winger on one side. So you're saying, give it to the other side. We've got two. We've got both sides covered. So really glad they picked up from last season, but they need to be going forward, the two teams that bad up every single team. They need to be our jewels in the crown that when we go to opposition grounds, they're thinking it's going to be a long day because both sides, we can get it from Arsenal. So yeah, great game from both of them. And long may it continue.
There was a moment in the game, I don't know if you noticed it, that Martinelli went on a run in the second half, and Johnson, who's normally a forward, and he went wideish forward, was tracking, and the fullback as well. They chased him down. They got a throw, and I looked at it, and Martinelli's gone to get the ball, and both of them were on their haunches. Like going, he was running not one ragged but two. You know what I mean? And I just thought, wow, that was what he was doing in that game. They was having to work there so hard to just contain him on that day. I did think he run out a little bit of steam in the end, Martin. His first game of the season, but I was so impressed with his performance that there was another time when he ran the ball out in the first half and went behind the goal, fell down behind the goal. He got himself up and sprinted back to the halfway line trying to chase down the fella. You know what I mean? I don't see other big wide players doing that. I think they shrug their shoulders and whatever. And I just think that the work rate of him is so impressive for a young kid with all that ability as well. His work rate to the team. He's very much a team player, And I like the way if you have a little look at it, he comes inside and all that, and builds up plays. He wants the ball all the time. And then you've got Saka, who does it in a different way. You know, an absolute different way that he does it. But I'll tell you what was great about Saka yesterday, and I watched it on TV. Every time he gets the ball, two players straight on him straight away. Like, you know, the one time that they didn't have to two on him was because they lost possession. Bang, goal. You know what I mean? Like, you know, quality players we've got there. We're this is a great era to watch these two guys. You know, like young, positive. They look to do the right things all the time. They seem like lovable characters as well. Like, you know, I think we're blessed to have both of them. Like, you know, and I wouldn't swap either one.
Lee, I think it's the best wide pairing we've had since Ljungberg and Pires.
Yeah,
I think we're going back to Ljungberg and Pires. I can't hear Turkish. Is it just me?
Oh, here we go again. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Easily.
I'd love them to go punch for punch with Salah and Diaz this year.
So would I.
I'd love to see that. That's a tough ask because they're more experienced. They've done it. Okay, Diaz, we've not seen with the injury. I haven't seen as much of him in the Premier League as we might have thought by this point. But
similar combinations, isn't it? You got Saka that does and Salah does all the trickery side, and then a little bit more positive, a little bit more stretching direct, from Diaz and Martinelli. Very, very similar.
With a lack of kind of natural fullback just on the pitch. Timber's a centre back playing left back, and Partey's a midfielder playing right back, and they were sort of coming in field a lot and twisting and turning and moving and rotating. The work rate Saka and Martinelli had to show all game just to cover at times, even if it was just to buy the team time to get back. They're unbelievable. Do you remember the point where people thought Arteta didn't like Martinelli?
It's mad. I think sorry,
that's development time. No. You're right to come in there, but it's just development time. Yeah, they were working on things.
I think just my final point on this would be that I think it's really important now who the right back is for Arsenal, because it's becoming evident and obvious now that Saka's kind of morphing into Robin in terms of when he cuts on his left foot, he's a problem. When he cuts in on that left foot, he's becoming a problem. He's becoming very, very difficult to stop on when he cuts in. So therefore, we need to now not be predictable, because teams will start saying, right, when he cuts in, double up. So in that sense, we need to know who's the overlapping right back, that Saka has an option. Okay, I can't get the shot off, but I've attracted two players here, but I trust that it's Timber or Tomiyasu or White on the right-hand side that has the time and space to deliver a good crossing. So I think who the right back is will be, I think, adds to the weaponry of that particular side.
It might be too high.
I hope not.
We've got Robben, we've got Kaka. We're winning it all, Jordan.
Come on, that one's you can't deny that one. That is a
World 11.
Come on.
I think he's going to be better than Robin. I'm really right,
And then you got me in these clips in the top left corner, and you dragged me down with you. Social team. Take this top left box out of me when you edit up this clip, please. Just put Jordan and Lee next to each other. But listen, we're moving into we've just moved into the last 15 minutes. Hopefully, people want 1,000 likes. Hopefully, you're enjoying the show. This will be more of a post-match review show, with obviously the predictions at the end, moving forward into the season, and with Champions League football coming back mid-September. Don't forget the draw for that is on the 31st of August. We'll be covering it live right here on AFTV, so make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. We'll be doing once a week up until the Champions League fixtures come in, the domestic cup fixtures come in, and then we'll be either live or pre-record a show after every single fixture Arsenal play this season. So make sure you're locked in right here. Moving into the last 10 minutes, I mean, we've heavily discussed the game. I just want to touch in with you on the whole ticket debacle and what happened at the start of the game, how long it took you to get in the stadium. What's happened over there with the tickets? Is it the whole digital format causing the issue?
All broke down. It just all stopped. I've never, ever experienced anything like it. I got there and I said, what the hell's going on here? Like, I mean, there was queues after queues. And in the end, like for instance, all three of you could have gone if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean that, because what he could have done was just took a screenshot of my ticket on your phone and just shown it and just walked straight in there, because that's all I did.
Yeah.
In the end, they just had to let people in, like, you know. Now, I heard on a good authority after the game that there was no, if say like they didn't do that, at 1 o'clock that game was kicking off. They could not go any later than 1 o'clock. It had to be that was it. Like, so if the fans were outside by 1 o'clock, it was there. Now I was standing outside. I took a photo. It was like, I've never seen anything like it. Within half hour, there was no one there. They done it really well. But what they done was they just said, like, just show your ticket and go in. Just go in, like, you know. So, you know, anybody could have got in on that day. It was chaos. And the thing is, you know, I mean, like the old system, I don't know why and God, I've got to bring this up because somebody like pulled me as I was getting on the train. Oh, Lee, have a word when you're on the show for whatever. Like, you know, he went into the Arsenal shop about a week ago and bought a card holder for £20. And they don't use them no more. Like,
oh, no. Oh, no.
He's having a go at me about it. He used to have all the 20 quid for my card holder, and they didn't turn around and say that they were going digital, and that is not worth getting it. You know? And I thought, bloody hell, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was more concerned that we can see the goal. But anyway, like, you know, so here's a good point, though. You know what I mean? So that fella on the train here, I've mentioned it, like, you know. So, yeah. So I don't see why.
Hang on a minute. Who spends £20 on a card holder anyway?
Well, I think you get like an Arsenal one or whatever, like, you know.
When you're in the Diamond Club, Jordan, you meet people.
True. Fair.
You get a club holder, like, you know.
Actually, they give you one.
When you get your season ticket, you get a nice card holder with it, like, you know what I mean? So. And it's just something nice to have, you know what I mean? Like the card, you just tap it in and go in. I don't see what the problem is with it. Why they've had to change it, like, you know? And really, one person said to me, it's to do with ticket touting and things like that. Well, the ticket touts were there, and also my mate tried to get a ticket on the day and was offered £100 for it, like, for a ticket. So it hasn't stopped the touts, and it won't. I don't know why they're going to go, you know. And I think it's something to do with the internet went down with. I don't know if you've ever tried to get on the internet at the end. It's shocking. So I think this is going to be a real freaky, a real worry, like, you know, because you can't have that every single game. It was absolute chaos out there, like, you know.
Lee, you know, times like that make you know, look at the American system during preseason, and the way you just flow straight in and you flow straight out. There's no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, but I'm really honest with you now. I think, I don't know what it come like over the TV, but I felt it dampened the atmosphere a little bit. There was no one in the ground, no one. But like, I think 10 minutes before kickoff, I think at past, the ground was empty. There was no one there, like, you know, so there wasn't that thing with first game of the season. Everybody gets in a little bit early and everyone's singing the atmosphere. It's just like you got in and the game kicks off, sort of thing. Like, so I just felt it didn't help for the atmosphere of the game. I didn't think it was a bad atmosphere, don't get me wrong, but I just felt that there wasn't that buzz of getting into the ground and for the first game of the season, because guys, it was a relief. It was a relief that people got in. I think there was relief that they got in. A couple of my mates didn't get in until 5 minutes after kickoff. I was fortunate to get in around about past. So, but yeah, not acceptable, and you know, like, it can't happen again. That can't. I've never seen that at a game of football at Arsenal for a very, very long time.
A few of my friends mentioned it took a little while to get the energy up, but that's understandable. The frustration of having to queue that way, you know, midday kickoff, first game of the season, everyone's gassed, and then you go there and you see a queue that long. It can kind of dampen that moment until you get in the stadium, and then you kind of build that back up. But we got the win. Cool.
I can imagine. So I just want to say, I can imagine it's also a little. I don't know, not like scary or anything, but like 60,000 people, of which 40,000 or whatever are still trying to get into the ground. I can imagine that's quite, and actually it's quite tight, that space around the Emirates, some bits. I mean, there's some open bits, But just for people who maybe don't know it, I can imagine as well when we talk about like how people are feeling getting in there. I can imagine people just a bit like, oh, just get me in.
Yeah.
Like, let's get everyone to their seats, and you know, so they'll sort it.
Safety, that's a great point because I think safety could have been an issue. I think there were a few people that did get crushed as well. You know what I mean? So it's a good point.
They got there in the end. And we got the win in the end. And we play Palace next. Now, I know people, the Palace game is still 6-7 days away. It's a Monday night fixture in game week 2. But we're going to make the predictions now. A lot can happen during now and that fixture. Timber, we haven't even heard news on how long he's potentially out for yet. We don't even know if Zinchenko's back at this moment in time yet and how fit he's going to be. But we're still going to do our predictions anyway. Before we do our predictions, let me bring up the prediction table. Little change. We've all got an extra point after predicting a correct win. Now, I do want to raise, because I've got a hell of a lot of messages. I've got a hell of a lot of tweets tagging me. I've got a couple of people even in person coming up to me and saying, justice for James.
For James, yeah.
I've created another table here, just so people know. I have created it there.
That's good of you.
With 2 for James. I'm going to leave it on the 1 until Lee and Jordan. I don't know how you're feeling about this, but I'm completely against it. I don't think he should get the point.
Listen, if I've had all this, James, in fact, we've had old silly Sheroy or Sheroy, whatever his name is. You know what I mean? Bloody, like, you know, on the blow. The worst, I'm going to say, is the worst lawyer or whatever, defence, whatever, that I've ever seen. And
now you're coming for his career. So you're trying to take my point, and you're trying to ruin his career. He comes on here as a guest, as a, you know, it's just, he's just a good guy who gives his time to the podcast.
Yeah, he's a good guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a big screen up. I should bring it up, like, you know what I mean? Like, in the studio on Saturday, it said, Sheroy, move closer to James. You know what I mean? Like, it's like absolutely sickening, like, you know. But listen, if James would have gone 1-1, right? Yeah. And you know, no, say if he'd have gone 1-1, right? What did you actually go? 3-1. But if he'd have gone 1-1, right, he'd have took the 3 points. And then like the penalty shootout, and then we go, oh no, you can't have it. So a draw was never ever going to suffice, was it? So if you actually got a draw, you was never going to win this game. So the prediction is, he predicted 3-1. It finished 1-1. How the hell can you think you can get a point? And anybody that goes against it, I'm not worried about it. I know what I am, and that's it.
Sheroy has spoken, and we have always gone with Sheroy's judgment. He's the official judge for the Fourever Arsenal podcast. He has represented Turkish before. He's represented Turkish before, and now he's representing me, and he's always done a great job. So.
His reputation has gone downhill.
No, I just want to say, like, you know what I mean? I just want to say on this subject, this is from Sheroy. Right? Forget about the point that James has got. You should be discussing why hasn't Turkish been docked 3 points? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that is what his exact words are. You know, for being a serial offender.
His own lawyer's turned on him now.
How's my lawyer bringing up the past and saying, "Hey, you shouldn't charge him for
his own lawyer"?
I may be a lawyer, but I'm not a miracle man. Is exactly what he said here. Like, you know what I mean? So
his own lawyer's turned on him.
This is fascinating. So basically, not only should I be on 2 points, but Turkish should be docked for last week.
He should now be docked 3
That
points.
is fascinating.
Now, should I be honest with you guys? Obviously, it would have been docked 1 point because I didn't miss the whole show. I called and I messaged in between. But listen, let's not go backwards now. I actually made a table on the last show. I actually made a table with myself having 2 points, and I put the original one with 3 points. And to my surprise, when I put the one with 3 points up, none of you argued it. So that case has been thrown out. Long time. I'm a free man on this land. I'm a free man on this land. Yeah. So you can't bring up old cases and try to drag a man down. What kind of lawyer have I got? He wants more money, this guy. He wants me to stand trial.
He's been on holiday, like, you know what I mean? He's been to Italy on James, you know what I mean? This is what I'm hearing. It take anything for a bit of money, this lawyer. Well, I tell you like that. I mean, you know what I mean? It defend anybody. I'll tell you like that. I mean, like, the fee is right. It defend anybody like that. I mean,
I just want to say thank you to everyone in the comment section who stood up for me, who defended me.
Everyone, pretty much.
I want to thank Jordan for your very public defense, and I've always preferred you to Curtis. And I just want to thank everyone who has helped get to the right outcome.
Listen.
Robbie said it's a definite no-go.
Robbie's got nothing to do with this podcast.
Well, I know
there we go.
Robbie, thanks for having me on AFTV. I appreciate it. I love my job, but I've got to scrap for this point. For this point.
James just said, "Thanks for the memories. It's time to go, Rob." I didn't say it. He said it. Call Sharoy. I don't know.
I might need Sharoy one more time when I'm to have my job back.
Listen, let's put an end to this. There's 3 panel members to vote. Lee, should James get the extra point?
Absolutely not.
Jordan, should James get the extra point?
Absolutely.
All right, it lies with me, and I'm about to delete that second table because we've got the right one up right now.
So Sharoy,
Lee judges, he's done it again.
So what Sharoy says goes for all your decisions, but not for mine.
To be honest, Sharoy is the judge, jury. I'm the executioner.
Yeah. And I just want to make one point, right? 1 point now. I really want to make. It's very, very serious, right? 1 point.
Go on, you make it now. Make that point. I'm going to make it now. Make that point now, Lee. Go on. What is it?
I prefer Curtis.
Why am I catching strays?
Outrageous.
Because I know Curtis would have gone with us because you know he's a proper man.
For once, I'm not involved in the controversy and I'm getting dragged in. Oh, jeez. Sorry, cool. James.
We still got comments of the day to do as well. So let's run
all I know, Jordan, is I owe some winnings and.
I'm gonna see you today, my guy. I'll take that as a threat.
No,
it won't be Sharoy. It won't be my lawyer out call. It's Stricto next. It's security. I'm calling.
Stricto loves me. And by the way, Stricto knows that I was robbed too. I know he knows it.
Unali and Stricto, they're on the payroll. So
Lee's on my team. Lee was on the watch along saying I got robbed.
Yeah, Lee Gooner, he's another one that's gone. But I've got to say,
he's another one that's gone.
And some of his views, I can understand now why. Like, you know what I mean? Like, ridiculous. I told him so. I actually told him so when I was about 100 yards away. I told him. Like, you know what I mean?
Hey
Lee, come on, let's get predictions in.
Predictions. Palace Monday night fixture.
I'm still bottom then.
You are 3-1 Arsenal. Oh, wait. 3-1 Arsenal. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. James,
I actually agree with that, but I'll tweak it and go with 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1. Jordan.
1-0 Arsenal.
1-0 and Lee judges.
2-0 then. I'm going to get it.
2-0.
You go 2-1, James?
Yeah,
I think 2-0. I'll go 2-0, same as last year.
So just to round it off for the people listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music and all podcast platforms, because we are available in a podcast format, people. Crystal Palace away. I've gone for a 2-1 Arsenal win. James has gone... No, sorry. I've gone for a 3-1 Arsenal win. James has gone 2-1 Arsenal. Jordan's gone 1-0. And Lee has gone 2-0. I'm currently top of the leaderboard, 4 points. James, Jordan, and Lee have all got 1.
That's your fault, Lee, by the way.
James, Jordan, and Lee have all got 1 each. And we keep it moving. We'll see what happens against Palace. We're all going for the W. Let us know your predictions in the comments below. Thoughts, lineups, what you want to see, and what you thought of the game against Forest. And we're going to end. Before we end, it's comments of the day. Have everyone got a comment ready?
I have, yes.
I haven't got a comment, but I just think it's interesting that the whole jury, be in the comments, were in favour of James getting his point. Like literally the entire
It was everyone, Lee.
the
But Lee,
entire
you know what?
jury were
It's
unanimous.
fine, Lee. It's fine. Don't just know when we finish level on points again. Just know I was robbed.
Yeah. No. Anyway, going into the comment today, this is like Lee knows that last season he was a disgrace that he let James get near him in the league. So he wants a big gap. So James, so taking that point means everything.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Like, yeah, I mean,
I've got one here around the same subject. Jack says James trying to hold his own against Lee and Turkish gives me Rob Holding against Haaland vibes.
Wow.
James to get booked halfway through the next podcast.
Rude.
That was one of mine. Yeah. I thought that was harsh. I thought I did all right.
Rob Holding vibes.
That's rude.
All I'll say is I took it to the second leg.
Yeah, he did.
That was mine as well. I'm just trying to see if there was another one. Lee and Turkish splitting their winnings on horses and bandit masks. They robbed poor James in daylight without a care.
I see that one. But seriously though, if you know what I mean,
Can't be bothered, Lee.
I mean, you have
robbed
to
me.
help the way you do it, then, didn't you? Like, you know what I mean? So,
Lee, it's fun. If you feel better, if you feel okay,
don't worry about that.
the way you're living your life.
You don't even need.
Don't worry about that. I'm very happy.
If you're happy, if you're happy being this guy,
no, right.
That's fine. If you know, if this is who you want to be, that's okay.
Evil man. But we move.
The Voldemort Harry stuff was looking quite accurate, may I say?
Well, yeah, I see those ones as well. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not happy because Harry Potter normally always wins. So I'm not happy. About it, like,
This is the alternate reality where you can win, Lee. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah.
Jordan, Lee, James, pleasure as always, and it really always is after a win, especially. So hopefully we're, talking the same after Palace, all smiles, and we're discussing another 3 points because it is the first away fixture of the season, and it's a difficult one. I'm sure they'll make it difficult for us. So we'll see how that one goes. Hit the like button, people. Let's get to 1,000 likes. Leave your comments in the comment section below. We'll go through them as always and pick out comments of the day for the next show. You've seen the prediction table. Make sure you're subscribed. Put the notification bell on, and love for the love, people. All right. See you again soon.